He was tired that morning, and the last thing he felt like doing was running. As a New York City firefighter, he was no stranger to long nights, and he had spent the previous one putting out multiple fires across the city. But his wife, Jane, was tired too and desperately wanted to get their three kids out of the house. So he decided, what the hell? They can come watch Daddy run a marathon. And so he joined 125 other men and one woman at the starting line in Central Park. And at 11 a.m., he began the first of 4 hilly laps. He eased into a comfortable pace just behind his friend Pat Bastick, but after the second lap, Bastick had dropped out. Now running alone, the firefighter picked up his pace and slowly began to pick off the runners ahead of him. By the time he completed the final loop, there were no other runners in sight, and he broke the tape in 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 38 seconds, more than 4 minutes ahead of second place. Today is Saturday, September 13th, 2025, and on this day in 1970, Gary Muhrcke won the first ever New York City Marathon. In this very special pod-ception episode, I will sit down with Alex Granata of the Allie G Show as we talk all about that first edition of what would grow to become one of the largest marathons in the world. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and you are listening to Today in Running History. It is once again Salty Saturday, which means that today's episode is sponsored by Salt Stick, and I am running a very hot, very humid half marathon this evening. I am not sure why anyone thought a 5 p.m. half marathon in San Antonio in September would be a good idea or why I agreed with them enough to sign up, but here we are. This is going to be a tough one, and I know I will be sweating hard. But even with the gallons of sweat I will be losing, I'll be prepared to avoid cramping and dehydration by taking 2 Salt Stick fast chews every few miles. I'm going with green apple flavor this time, and something I love that I haven't really talked about much are the water-resistant pouches that they come in. They wouldn't be great to take on like a swim or a scuba dive, but they hold up really well with regular sweat when sitting in your pocket for a while during exercise. As always, listeners of Today in Running History can save 20% off your purchase from Salt Stick by clicking the link in the episode description. And there are still free PB&J energy bars from their sister brand Bonk Breaker available. So I will include a link to that one as well. All you need to do is add a case to your cart plus a box of energy chews, and then use the code ONELASTBOX at checkout to make the bars free. And that is the number 1 spelled out. So ONE last box. Now let's go talk about the 1970 New York City Marathon, which happened 55 years ago today with Alex Granata. All right, well, I am here once again for a very special pod-ception episode with Alex Granata from the Allie G Show. And the reason why we are recording again is because I switched computers and lost the original recording. So shout out for your willingness to re-record with me. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm excited we're back here again. It's always good to chat with you, even if we have to redo it. So
yeah,
I'm
take
just happy
2.
to be here.
I promise that the original one won't be too much different than this one.
Yeah,
So,
no, truly.
yeah.
Pulling up the notes. It's the same.
Awesome. Now, tell us first about you, about your background, and about your podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with the podcast. So I am the host of the Allie G Show, which is a podcast about running and music. And, actually I'm gonna to broaden that a little bit. It's about sports and music and not just focused on running. When I first started it was, but I realized that everybody has different things. Like even if they're a runner, then they might be a photographer, they might be, something else. So kind of broaden that a little bit. So it's been fun connecting with a bunch of different people with that. And yeah, in my free time, which is very little when you start running, the way that we do, you have very little free time. But yeah, I started running, I would say like more competitively with myself in the last like 3 or 4 years doing races and things like that. But I really started running in college when I went to school in Lower Manhattan and we didn't really have sports at that campus. So yeah, I just spent like all my free time there running across the Brooklyn Bridge like 25 times a day because I was bored. So yeah, it kind of unraveled in like the best way. And yeah, now I'm running marathons, ultras, things like that. I'm trying to keep it fresh, which is gets hard as you keep running a lot of races
Oh
to
yeah.
like keep yourself engaged and not bored.
Yeah,
But yeah,
not the same thing over and over and over. And you
true.
grew up somewhere within the greater New York City area?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Jersey. I still live there. Love it. But yeah, I'm only like 30 minutes outside of the city. So I spend a lot of time there. And I work in New York sometimes,
Yeah.
all over.
So the New York City Marathon is an obvious choice for you for your
Of course.
podception episode.
Of course. I know. That's why I was honored to be here for it.
All right, so take us back to September of 1970 and that first New York City Marathon. It looked a lot different than the ones you and I have run.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, rewinding for a second to talk about September 13th, 1970, a Sunday in Central Park. The unofficial headquarters of chaos, I always say, because it's crazy. And on that particular day, a group of 127 runners lined up near the Tavern on the Green, which for those that don't know, it's the restaurant in Central Park, right by Columbus Circle, and they were all taking part in what we now know as the first New York City Marathon. And it wasn't the one that we have today, which is the 5 borough like bridge hopping marathon. We all love. I love it, as we said before. But this was 4 laps around Central Park. And again, for those that don't know, 4 laps around Central Park is like it's like torture. So
It's super
I do
hilly,
it.
right?
It's super hilly. It's like a little over 6 miles of rolling hills. Um, and for those that do know, Harlem Hill is like a very big hill that can make or break you when you're running. But yeah, this came to be because Fred Lebow, he was Romanian born. He was a distance runner, teamed up with Vince Chipetta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've pronounced it, or I've practiced it like 7 times. And he was the co-founder and former president of New York Roadrunners. And both of them put on the race together. They apparently like scraped up $1,000 total, which was really just like donations and apparently favors that were coming in return for things they've done for other people. And they bought old trophies as the prizes and some water and some cups. And I think that was it because the entry fee to this marathon, the first New York City Marathon, was a single dollar, which when you really put that in perspective, obviously now is insane because it's over 200. I'm pretty sure all the
And even
marathons
even
are.
with inflation, that would be like
Yeah.
what, like $6 or something?
six
Like
dollars like you
it's
still
something like
pay
that.
more.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
you
like
still pay more for a sandwich than you
yeah.
did to get into this race. um but yeah, most of the runners were local. They had a total of 127, like I said earlier, and only 55 runners finished. It was all men and one woman who attempted to run these 4 laps of Central Park. And it's also important to note that there were like no barriers, no barricades. There really weren't like gels, timing chips, super shoes, and literally nothing that we have today and what we know, and like GPS watches, they did not have. So it was kind of just like a gathering, and you might get attacked by a dog or like a squirrel. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things that like would happen to me in Central Park.
Oh yeah.
um, Hopefully not, obviously, but
You get attacked by
uh,
pigeons. I've seen
that's
Home
all right.
Alone too, so
Yeah, that's
I
right.
know that's a real possibility.
It's so true. But yeah, the winner of the race, men's race, I should say, was Gary Muhrcke. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was 33 years old, a fireman, and he apparently worked an overnight shift and still won this race. Unsanctioned, sanctioned but unsanctioned, I guess, in my head is how I picture it. But he ran the entire thing in 3 hours or 2 hours and 31 minutes, which is crazy. That's like a 540 something a mile,
And it makes
547.
you wonder like what could he have done if he was rested and all that stuff if he
Imagine
hadn't been firefighting for
he'd be
the
like
previous 12 hours.
Yeah, he'd be running like Kipchoge's pace or something
Yeah,
with like
yeah,
super shoes and actual fuel. Cause again, that was, I feel like in that time it was like, I'm going to eat something and hope it works
yeah.
kind of thing. Cause
Oh
we
yeah,
don't, they didn't know what we know today. But yeah, and the one woman who ran, her name was Nina Kushik, who eventually went on to actually win the women's division of the New York City Marathon in 1972, which I thought was a very fun fact and
yeah.
important to note.
Oh,
But
and
yeah,
she was awesome. She
so
was
cool.
great. I need to do a whole episode on her. I think she won the Yonkers Marathon a few times too.
So
She just
cool.
passed away
Yeah.
earlier this year. So she
Sad.
yeah, but she was super cool. And then I was trying to hunt down Gary and see what he was doing these days.
Oh, did you have any luck?
Because no, I couldn't. I couldn't find
Oh,
anything about him. Like I think he ran the one marathon. He's like, yeah, that's enough for me. And
this
then
is
here
done.
we are 55 years later, and he's just like, I don't want to do any of this.
I mean,
He's in his 80s, just, you know, living his life. And
that's crazy. And he
yeah,
probably was wearing like not even, he probably wasn't even wearing running shoes. Forget about the super shoes. He was probably wearing like tennis
tennis
shoes or
shoes,
something,
yeah,
like something
sneakers,
really
yeah.
flat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then fast forward in 1976, Fred Lebow was the ringleader of bringing the New York City Marathon out of Central Park and into all the five boroughs where, you know, as everybody knows, more than like 50,000 runners start on the Verrazano and finish in Central Park right by Tavern on the Green. So kind of a full circle moment in all those years.
Yeah, so it finishes pretty close to where the original finish was. I'm not super familiar with Central Park. I know when I finished, I was within somewhere in Central Park,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't, yeah,
Finished a little farther away from Tavern on the Green, but you know, you kind of feel the same vibe. It's all on the same side of the park.
yeah, yeah.
Because
You
you know,
still
the
finish on that
dreaded
same uphill.
yes, exactly. And the same like dreaded walk out of Central Park after you finish the marathon, I'm sure existed back then as
Oh
it
yeah.
does today.
Yeah.
But
And how
yeah.
many times you've done New York more than once, right?
Yeah, I've run New York twice. I'm not doing it this year, unfortunately. I'm probably gonna have FOMO, but I really want to cheer. Like
You
I
should.
really, really, really want to cheer. And I was like, it just feels right. Like I did
Yeah.
so many things this year. I'm like, I don't need it. I can cheer. So,
You
but it's one of the
should.
best.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah,
best.
I've always wanted to spectate a race, but I'm never in a place where there's a marathon going on that I'm not running. Like it's
Same,
like
same. Also,
and
it gives me like
so
massive amounts of
oh yeah.
stress. I'm like, and I'll sometimes I'll look at
Why am
like
I not running
my
this?
sister and my friends. Yeah, it's like on one hand, I'm like, why am I not running this? And on the other hand, I'm like, this is so stressful. Like I can't look at the tracker and look at find my iPhone and like try to find my friends. It
Yeah.
just I'm not built for it, but I'm trying so hard to be built for it because I want to support people the way they support me.
That's
So
awesome. And will you do it again?
of course, I have to. I have to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, last thing for today's episode, what is your favorite thing about the New York City Marathon and running in New York City in general, as someone who has spent a lot of time there?
Oh, that's a great question. Running in New York City in general, I just love that I first of all, I always start in Central Park. Um, I always do one full loop and then kind of venture off to wherever I'm going. And the one thing I really love about it is that you can go like all the way up to the George Washington Bridge in one direction and then you can also like go all the way down into Brooklyn and you know down the West Side Highway. So a lot of different places to run. I always see familiar faces, which is so nice. Even if you're both kind of in the zone, you give each other that like runner head nod and you're like, okay, I see you. I see you. And then I'll like text the person later. I'm like, great job. Um, but my favorite thing about the New York City Marathon is probably like outside of the people and everybody cheering because it's I think one of the best cheering wise the Queensboro Bridge is a part that I it's one of my favorite parts of the entire marathon because
It is such
a
a
lot of the
cool,
time it's
yeah,
so cool and it's like it's the one time where I turn off my headphones if they're actually on because a lot of the
yeah,
time I just wear them. I think I said this
yeah,
last time like for
yeah,
emotional support.
yeah,
um but um it's the one time where if I am playing music still at that point like I will turn it off because I
yeah.
love like I find so much beauty and
Quiet.
peace yeah in just hearing everybody's footsteps around me. I think it's such a special moment and when you look to your left and right it's like the most unbelievable view you're ever going to have. And it's kind of like that. I mean, you're at like mile, I don't know, 16, 17, 18.
16.
You're in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Um, and you're kind of on the struggle
It's about to
bus.
get really
Yeah,
tough.
yeah. It gets worse. It gets worse
Yeah.
than the Queensboro, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people hate it, so I'm trying to give it a little bit of love. But it truly is my favorite part of the race. I think it's crazy. And it's like that is the one time where everybody is truly paying attention to each other, in my opinion. Like the first year I ran it, I was obviously looking like I was dying, I guess. And somebody tapped me on the back and they're like, let's do it together. And I was like, all right. And that's kind of what New York City's about. So
Yeah.
it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to watch you again in the future there, not this year, but in the future. Hopefully I get to return again at some point as well.
Together, hopefully we'll do it.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. And where can people find your podcast?
Ooh, you can find me on Instagram at _Allie G Show. Same thing on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Pods, Amazon Music, all the things, anywhere you can find podcasts. It's just the Allie G Show.
All right. Well, awesome. I will also go ahead and link that in the episode description.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I love this. Pod-ception.
Yeah, pod-ception. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
That is all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Alex for being my guest for another special pod-ception episode. I will link her podcast, The Allie G Show, in the episode description. And speaking of the episode description, I will include a Salty Saturday link to save 20% from Salt Stick, plus the link and discount code for a free box of PB&J energy bars from Bonk Breaker. Join me tomorrow as we meet the last of the Flying Finns, who became the first athlete in history to win the Olympic 5,000, 10,000 double twice. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and this has been Today in Running History. I'm going with green apple flavor this time, and something I love. Okay. Complex sentences. I shouldn't have like multiple commas in a sentence. As always, dang it. And then here's the pod-ception interview. Hey, Alex. Oh, hey. All right, let's talk about New York City. Yeah, I like that city. Okay.